Welcome to a series of interviews with ALA presidential candidates for the 2016-17 term. I'm Library Technology Consultant Carson Block. In our conversation, we explore both tech and non-tech library leadership topics. Our guest today is Dr. Julie Todaro. Dr. Todaro has been a library manager for over 30 years and has experience in all types of libraries and library settings. Julie is currently the Dean of Austin Community College Library Services in Austin, Texas, and is active in both her state association and the American Library Association. Julie consults, presents workshops, is an author and frequent presenter at conferences and in organizational settings. She's most recently the past co-chair of ALA past President Barbara Stripling's January 2014 Libraries from Now On Invitational Summit at the Library of Congress. Julie is also author of the 2015 Mentoring A to Z and the 2014 book Library Management for the Digital Age, A New Paradigm. Julie, welcome.
Thank you very much, Carson.
Please give me your elevator speech. What makes libraries important in 2015?
You know, I have to tell you, I did not follow instructions, and what I did was always tell myself to read all the questions first. So if some of these say self-serving answers, it's because I didn't read them first, but turns out we think alike. When I first answered this question, I answered what makes libraries important, which is not the answer to the question. The answer to the question is what makes libraries important in 2015. And so I flipped my answer. I really think that what makes libraries important in 2015 is access to information, resources, and services. That's the obvious statement. But what I always add is designed and delivered from information experts. And I have long felt that our discussion of the support for libraries really can't take place without the experts who design and deliver information, create pathways of information for people, and then connect these pathways to the users. So my 2015 answer has to involve us, the librarians and the staff, instructional technologists, those people who really take this morass of content that we have and make it accessible and match it to the user.
Well, I think that's insightful because we are surrounded by information. Access is still an issue in many communities and for many individuals, but for others there's almost too much, and the role of the librarian is very important.
Mm-hmm.
I
think our credentialing is important, and let me just add that as well, that we constantly have to realize, represent ourselves, and keep educating ourselves as experts in the area.
How have your beliefs about libraries influenced your current work or your past work?
Well, I have always been very committed to service, the concept of service. And libraries, I think, exemplify a level of service and commitment that is unique among nonprofits. Someone once gave me this wonderful analogy. We were going to the legislature and talking about libraries and how important libraries were. And someone said, well, you need to understand that when the florists go to represent flowers, it's a commercial venture. When the librarians go, they go as representational communication and dialogue for their constituents. And I think the concept of service is unique to us in so many ways and is foreign to many other people who don't understand nonprofits in general or how nonprofits support constituents. So I think service has always been very high with me. As an adult, commitment to success of constituents and the match of that service to constituent success. And then the third arm is really the importance of training and educating experts for this service and the unique aspects of the service that are geared to the constituent. So everything, we call it Disney's circle of life. Everything leads back to, we can have the perfect library, we can have the best content, we can arrange it, we can program it, but unless it's geared to meet the needs or the profile of the user, and unless we can represent the value and put it in their hands, it doesn't work. So my beliefs of service and constituent success and expertise really all come together.
I believe I have beliefs as well. I think it's fair if I put them out there as an interviewer. I believe that great libraries are hyperlocal. That is, they understand the needs of their communities and create services and collections to meet those needs. My observation, though, is that being hyperlocal can make it more difficult for us all to work together at scale. For instance, tackling the bigger issues such as bandwidth, ebooks, and even the performance of ILS systems. What's your take?
It begins in our educational programs, that the discussions quickly move from global issues to type of libraries. And educational programs often cordon you off. They have a core of global content, and then they separate you into categories by type of library. And I resist that. I think that we start with global issues. We cannot leave those behind. We cannot leave partnerships behind, and we cannot ignore type of library issues. So to me, working across all types of libraries is probably the most critical element of success, so that we have a baseline knowledge of how we are different and how we are alike, because the infrastructures that we seek will not do that for us, and we must make it easy to support us. And part of that has to begin with us knowing about each other and having all types of libraries have a sound basis of knowledge, and then partnerships that people can connect with.
You have some experience in that, and I was wondering if you have ideas for venues to create that environment for information sharing and collaboration. And when I say venue, it doesn't necessarily mean a physical one.
Yes. There are bits and pieces of this already in place, and some of them are designed not necessarily to support us, but things we can take advantage of. For example, the majority of grant packages and financial environments out there who fund us are looking at economic and efficiency, and so they are requiring partnerships, and this has happened for the last 2 decades. And that has been, I think, a boon to the process of partnerships forming to serve constituents. So financially driven discussions, foundations, pulling funders together. Again, we have to show ourselves as economic and efficient, because to our outsiders, it's a rose is a rose is a rose. You know, why is it that you're different? Why do you need a new central library when you have an academic library down the street? Why do you need a public? Why does the school need a school library? So we have to begin by answering those questions. So I think a higher education, I think graduate programs and continuing education really have to put content in place that describes what we do across a spectrum. And again, if you put the constituent front and center, then those pieces of the puzzle come together. But that's for us to do, and we can't wait for other people to do it. We can't expect to be funded from 4 disparate groups with duplicate funding. We just have to do that. So I think it begins with education, training and continuing education that goes beyond higher ed. And then I am seeing a great deal of value content that is across types of libraries. And ACRL put out the value of library statement several years ago, and the bibliographic essay introducing the content pulls from value research from all types of libraries, which was extremely important. The state of Texas has a value statement. Florida has values content, and that content Some of it's very specifically about all types of libraries, and some of it is easily applicable. So I think research and publication has to direct us in that way, financial discussions, and education and training.
What is the most powerful role for technology in libraries?
I used to say access as just a global term. Mm-hmm. Libraries are the technological gateway. In fact, that was a huge
certainly
strategic goal for many people. It was a vision that we had, and I think it works still. But I think we have to look more broadly at our role in technology integrating into a constituent's home and work life. And that's another step. It goes beyond access. Again, it doesn't mean that, let's make sure we have 30 computers for our community for education and training and access to email and research, but let's make sure that we take that other step and we talk about technology as a mode or a method, and how it isn't the means to the end. It is about a process for providing opportunities in a 21st century contemporary fashion. I think that's part of our niche, is that we have to demonstrate how it fits into constituents' home and work life.
What are the most compelling technological issues facing libraries today?
My staff would laugh at this, because I will start every conversation with the mundane daily answer of printing.
I can give you, as a technology consultant, I can give you a witness to that.
I'm telling you, printing, and it's people think they're going to get this brilliant statement, and I'm like, printing. Why isn't printing built into LEED certification? And I don't know. It just kind of blows my mind. Why isn't it part of Green Globes? Why can you be a green institution and still print the equivalent of the redwoods? I don't know. So anyway, printing, absolutely. But I think to back up and take a more mature look, keeping up with hardware and software is an ongoing issue. It has never gone away for us as experts. And there's such a variety. We kept thinking, it was going to tunnel down to 3 platforms. But we offer ebooks in my institution, and we currently are on 10 platforms. So, of course, the big answer is it's America. And so we have a competitive marketplace. But because of that, we have to keep up with the hardware and software. I'm still going to keep printing as my number 2. And then bandwidth that can support the scale and the hardware, and our attempts to make it seamless to patrons. The infrastructure just isn't there yet, and I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to say it's there. But so I'm going to go with hardware, software. I'm going to leave printing in there, and then bandwidth.
Well, the printing is very funny, because it's so true. And I as an observation to what you're saying, I think that the specialization and fragmentation within the technology field is similar to what we see in publishing, and I think there's a similarity there, because I'm not sure, in my experience anyway, that things shake out and completely simplify. They definitely do in pockets, but it's a very organic growth of this sort of use of technology, ideas, and applications. And so I think that's a great way to look at it.
Well, I coined a phrase, and it's kind of hubris to say that, but I came up with a phrase years ago called dog year change. And when I first started in the field, I'm going to digress very briefly here. I'm mindful of our time. But when I first started in the field, we would get, we had high-speed microfilm. Oh, my God. How sophisticated were we, right?
Yeah.
And then we went to microfiche. And then we went to 5 1/4 floppies, and a single drive, a double drive. And as these formats changed, the speed with which we we received them changed. So within about 7 years, we had a huge leap from 2 5 1/4 discs, and we're talking local area networks, wide area networks, the whole thing, into 3.5. And look at all this content that we could put on there. And then we had to have stacks, and we had to have more networks. Mm-hmm. And then finally we were at the dynamic web. And when I looked back historically, it was 7 to 1. We started out with 1 change in a year, and then all of a sudden we were at 7. I would get in the mail, once every month or 5 weeks, we would get more discs. And as time went on, we would get different discs. And we couldn't play. We couldn't access until we upgraded our hardware. So for me, dog year change is daunting. And that keeping up is very hard to do.
That's a great segue into the next question. Technology moves quickly, and many libraries have trouble keeping up, let alone a large organization such as ALA. And ALA uses technology for its operations, and it also influences and acts as a resource for libraries across the country in very important areas, including technology practices and policy. What is your assessment of ALA's technological agility?
When I first started reading this question, I thought it was going in a different direction. And then I saw that last question. I went, we have some really great minds at ALA, not only staff, incredibly futuristic thinkers. Obviously, our members and our leaders within the association are as well. We are, however, 60,000 strong, and the structures that we must depend on are expensive and diverse in far-flung locations. So to expect a business to pick itself up and drop itself and leave Chicago, drop itself in Seattle, and have this incredibly technological environment is nothing short of a miracle that doesn't happen easily, but happens with a great deal of money. So we see reading conferences, we see EDUCAUSE, we see all sorts of other businesses, albeit much smaller. We see them sometimes more easily adapting to that. And I think as we move along in time, hotels and conference centers provide us with more structure. But the sheer size and weight of ALA means things will not happen as fast as our minds move and certainly as our members move. I'm reminded of us trying to bring in to a Chicago midwinter conference, trying to bring in the chair of a committee who was stuck in the snow somewhere. And it was hysterically funny. I mean, we were signing into wireless connections from our room in the hotel, and then we had jerry-rigged a microphone up that we were using for something, and we brought in a laptop. It was comical. And now we need 2 iPads, and that's it, because FaceTalk works. And so we've come a long way for us to make some of the things our solutions. But I think ALA's challenge has and always will continue to be keeping us affordable. As an association, we're still so much more affordable than other large associations, but yet providing us with the structure we need to have the conversations that we need. So I think they've done a great job keeping up. There's always more, there's always better, and I think they're constantly trying to struggle with the commercial package for the website, which we all do, and trying to connect with our 60,000 member strong individual needs in their websites. So it's daunting, and it's easy to be critical from the outside, and then when you kind of step in the circle and you see the cost, it's unbelievable. So I think that ALA is constantly striving to meet the needs of its members, but our members are so strong in this area that they're cutting edge, and an association this size needs a lot more money to be as cutting edge as it needs to be. So I think we do a good job.
Many libraries are undergoing a shift in mindset from transactional to transformational. What does that mean to you, and how can such a change be best facilitated?
This, to me, was the hardest question you asked, and I'm going to bring it around to the user again, or the constituent. So I would have to say that much as my answers to the first questions were, that our responsibility is to provide not the transactional, what do you need, here it is, but the transformational need. We have this for you, it meets your needs, here's how it meets your needs, here's the way to access it, here's the value of it to you as an individual. So my preference again is to look at our both in-person, digital, virtual, one-on-one, small group, large group as us as experts presenting the transformational approach to and adding that value to the exchange that we have to the constituent. And it's very personal to type in size of library. I do a series for small community libraries across Texas, and we have 500 of them that serve communities less than 25,000. And I can remember going from a huge library where we discussed things to a small community where shortly after Christmas they set up a table at the front and they advertise that they have, as you and I would call them, office hours, and what they do is do one-on-one, let's show you how you use your Christmas gifts. And bring in your iPad, bring in your venue, bring in your Nexus, and we'll show you how to do it. We'll show you how to download our ebooks for you. So it happens at the front line, it happens in extremely rural areas, and it happens in maker spaces in big cities that we have to meet their needs, and we have to be flexible enough to meet their needs in an integrated fashion.
What is the one thing you wish to change in libraries during your term, and how will you change it?
I'm going to reference the fact again that ALA is an organization of 60,000 people. When you are honored enough to be asked if you want to run, you do a self-assessment of impact. What impact can I make? What's important? And some of that, I think we all come up with really great ideas, and we have wonderful sound bites, and my focus will be leadership and the fact that libraries lead, librarians lead, library supporters lead, library workers lead. The issue, I think, for us in this particular society is that I'm hopeful I can get to the end focusing only on that. Courtney and Barbara and past presidents, which is wonderful, but they get pulled into content that you wouldn't think we get pulled into.
Yes.
But politics, security, technology, copyright, and on this huge global level, you want us to be pulled in, if not first, but second or third. So I'm hopeful I can change something during the term, and my particular area would be a focus on leading and leadership. I worked with Camilla O'Leary's presidential campaign, and I was extremely proud of the advocacy materials that we created on frontline advocacy for all types of libraries, and giving the content, writing the scripts to show people how to answer those difficult questions. I think that during my presidency, what I would like to do is take some of that content and wrap that into the values, the incredibly important values content that we have out there, that kind of blends advocacy, speaking up, and leading, but doing it with as much values content as we can. So that someone says to me, "What do you do?" And I say, "I'm a librarian." And they say, "Interesting, do we need libraries today?" And I still get that question, I always will. And my answer is really, did you know that your local public library, for every dollar you spend, puts back $3.73 into the economy? Did you know that your academic library supports educational initiatives by the hybrid approach, where students learn both inside the classroom and inside the library? So to me, it's speaking up, but it's also speaking up, illustrating the value content that we have. So I'm hopeful that we can put more of that content out there that's easy to use and meaningful and current.
What is the one thing that must not change, and why?
We are absolutely down the road on value and talking about value of the library to the workplace. And we have, although we're gathering a great deal of data, which is incredibly important, I think the one thing that we have to continue to do is gather individual stories. There are all sorts of ways to persuade people to come to your way of thinking. And I really follow Cialdini. In fact, I used to call him, I identified myself as his stalker. And he has a wonderful website on influence. He's faculty in Arizona, and he has the power of persuasion. And then I took that content and attached it to our constituents in our library. And in fact, my presidential race, if you call it that, but the website will have links to a lot of the free content that I have on the web so that people can see what we're talking about. But we have to keep gathering the breadth of data. We can't leave that story behind. So we need the numbers, and depending upon the decision maker we're speaking with or the constituent we're trying to convince, we need to be able to have a cadre of data. And libraries have always excelled at the story, and I think that stories are very powerful. So we don't want to leave that behind.
What makes you the best choice for ALA president?
Well, jokingly, I would say, well, I'm the girl. We've got 4 of us, and it's an exciting race.
4 with J as a
they're all J. You love it? And staff will say so-and-so and all the rest of you, because it's just hysterical. And again, it's America. The more the merrier. It's great. I really think that I have a knowledge base that is broad for all types of libraries, and I think it's needed in the highest level of leadership. I think that I think leaders are better prepared when they have the breadth of the environment and when they have concepts of value and leadership and the importance of constituents in that linked together as part of their arsenal. The other candidates all have talents in other areas, they really do, and many of them, we have a library educator. I'd be hopeful that person would be knowledgeable about all types of libraries as well. My focus is going to be on expertise, leadership, and value, and I think that's what we need to move forward and continue to establish our expertise and value of individuals and libraries. So I think vote for me. I think I vote for the girl. I think I have it. And, it's a joke to call someone my age a girl, but I'm going to go with it. I'm thinking of the button.
I like that. Vote for the girl. That's
vote for the girl.
Actually very rich. It's really good. So imagine for a moment that you have been elected and you're nearing the end of your term. How will you know that you've been successful?
I wrote down when I got this question, outcomes, question mark, and exclamation point. I absolutely will come up with outcomes. If I am pushing continued focus on visibility, obviously I'm looking at product. I'm looking at creating advocacy content that is linked to the values content. So I do want to expand the advocacy content that ALA has. Now, don't get me wrong. Fabulous web content under ALA's Advocacy University, and it has videos and podcasts and scripts for all types of libraries, and I want to build on that. I think it's important that we match, going back to your elevator speech that you started out with, that you match the level of our importance with the specific value that we provide with stories as well. So I'm hopeful that the outcomes will have product that people can use the next day, that we don't have to wait to use, and that there will be increased visibility of the profession in places where we are already asked to step up, but I think they need to continue to ask us to do that. So I want to hear people other than librarians quoting our data and recognizing our value. And then the last thing I put down here was perhaps an Emmy for the new TV series, The Librarians, trying to focus on getting that media message out there. So I'm hopeful that I'll continue the visibility that the profession has earned in the most positive way.
Julie, I want to thank you. This has been a great chat, and I really appreciate the time that you've been able to spend. It's just wonderful to get your perspectives.
Thank you very much, Carson. We appreciate the opportunities to talk, and it's clear from your questions that you know a lot about libraries, and I always appreciate that, whether it's a lifelong study or just a career focus. It's extremely important that we connect with a variety of people, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Texas for South by Southwest.
Indeed, that'll be a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and be sure to catch the other podcasts to hear a similar sort of conversation from all of the ALA candidates. Thank you very much.